A star goes down in Baltimore, a star is born in New York, and a star is just completely unused in Philadelphia, and he doesn't seem happy about it. It's Tuesday, September 30th, and this is Martin in Monaco. All right, Monaco, you nailed it. You nailed it. On last week's episode, you saw the future. You oracle saying that Jaxson Dart was going to go into MetLife and get the win over Jim Harbaugh and the Los Angeles Chargers. But we'll start with the news of the day, and that is Lamar Jackson out for a while now with this hamstring injury. Monaco, you seeing it like Braille. You saw in the future. The Pittsburgh Steelers, through 4 weeks, I don't know what the betting lines are, but in Martin's book, are the prohibitive favorites to win the AFC North right now.
Let's go, baby. Hey, appreciate the Johnny Stockton there on the dap up. Right now, to win the division in the AFC North is still the Baltimore Ravens as the chalk, my man. They're minus 150, depending where you shop. Pittsburgh's almost 2-1, and then it's Cincy 12-1, and I digress. Look, I think this is even more than a Lamar Jackson injury issue. Have we seen a John Harbaugh club here? Ill-prepared? They're the second worst defense after a month of football in the entire National Football League. It's hard to comprehend. I don't know what it is. Is it internal? Is it injuries? They are banged up on both sides of the trenches. But this, my man, looks bigger than just the sport. This could be a locker room issue.
I thought it was a locker room issue already when I was going into the season. I just didn't have a good feeling about this team. Not nearly the same feeling I had about a Buffalo or a Kansas City. I also was too chicken to go all the way out on my limb and say this team's going to miss the playoffs or miss a wild card because they have Lamar Jackson. And as we saw with the Cincinnati Bengals last year, if you have a quarterback playing at a high level, you are viable to almost make the playoffs, right? You are viable no matter how bad the defense is, no matter how bad everything is, you're still viable. What the Baltimore Ravens were prior to Sunday was viable. Fourth quarter, Cooper Rush comes in. I know Tony Romo said they might see a spark. That's a wet blanket right there, pal.
Look, they don't look like they're intimidating anyone, but on top of that, they just look like they don't have any togetherness. And I don't know, is that one play? Is that Derrick Henry punch out by A. Hutch, your boy out of Michigan? Like, is that what turned this season around? Is it one play? Is it one game? Because they made an outdoor cat look indoor in Jared Goff, and they made the Chiefs look like the cream of the AFC crop when we still got questions about the AFC. I'm putting on Baltimore until further notice.
I'm right there with you. That is a Thomas Morstead chase the kick returner down, maybe by the end of this thing, punt, because Baltimore could make it a thing. But I'm punting as well on the Baltimore Ravens. And how about the Kansas City Chiefs? Last 2 weeks, I know they haven't necessarily played the best defenses in New York and Baltimore, but I think you saw a massive difference. Xavier Worthy is a guy who he may not be a top 5 receiver, top 10 receiver, but what he is somebody that you have to game plan for on the defensive side of the ball. And what he need, Patrick, he just needed one. He just needed one to be able to get that ball around to 7 different guys. The Chiefs' offense didn't have that 2 weeks ago, and it does now.
No, absolutely not. And the scarier thing is that this is a defense that is top 10 unequivocally in the NFL. And we have to remind ourselves, they're kind of like Philly. They're just very well coached. They don't beat themselves often. And we're kind of touching and toeing that line in sports media where we're looking for reasons to try to knock Mahomes, to shout out our guy Nick Wright, off of the top of Mahomes Mountain, when in all honesty, he finds a way with his magic to make stuff happen. They haven't even really established a running game, Martin, but when you have Stevie Spags and you have a few cornerstone pieces on this Chris Jones-led defense, and Mahomes is not turning the rock over, what are we worried about? This isn't even a team like the Chargers that we got to see it before we LASIK believe it. This is a Chiefs team that has been there, done that, and I don't even know if they care. Like a throwback veteran Lakers LeBron team, where they are seeding-wise. Just put us in the dance, and I dare the Bills to step on them in Buffalo. They haven't yet.
So, to your point about Mahomes Mountain, a new challenger entered the ring. Jaxson Dart and the New York Giants. You called it. You saw it from a mile away. Jaxson Dart and the New York Giants getting a win over Jim Harbaugh and what I was calling for the first 4 weeks of football the best team in football. Here's the thing. When you lose not one, but two all-pro level tackles, your team's going to fall apart. It's going to be tough. They're going to have to turn back to running the ball. Your Justin Herbert MVP ticket. It was nice while we had it. It'll still have it. Maybe by the end of the year, it'll come back up like the Undertaker. You know what I'm saying? If they can get Joe Alt back relatively soon. But take your victory lap, buddy, because you called it out there in MetLife.
Listen, it wasn't that incredible of a cap. Look, the Chargers were on California burrito time, as I like to call it. They were traveling 3,000 miles and playing at 10 o'clock Pacific time. I mean, that in addition to the uptick, as we know in the NFL, you fire a coach, you make a bullpen change, a quarterback, you're going to get extra effort. But this Giants front seven is menacing. They play competent defense. Their Andrew Thomas offensive line isn't abysmal. And Scattaboo, I mean, if we were back in our frat days, Martin, this guy would be the go-to guy to play beer pong with. Just ration Bud Lights on his skull. I mean, they have a little bit of dog, and they have now direction. But, I mean, you're reading all week, Dart's up all night, texting Dable late night. I mean, this is exactly, as I live in this New York market, what New York thrives on. A Jalen Brunson all-in type guy, an Aaron Judge dedicated to his craft type guy. Jaxson Dart may look like an actor hired to play quarterback. He looks like he's playing the part to a T, my man. Shout out Chad Powers on Hulu debut week, by the way.
I would say this about Jaxson Dart and Brian Dable. And I know that Connor Hughes in New York got made fun of it a little bit. It felt romantic. Yeah. It felt romantic. It felt romantic. Brian Daboll hasn't looked at a person, including Mrs. Brian Daboll, like he looked at Jaxson Dart as that game ended in years. In years. Since he's gotten the job. Since he's been in New York, he hasn't looked and smiled like that. The way you see he was smiling in a post-game press conference. I pay way too much attention to post-game press conferences. It's a big part of my day, all right? I've never seen Brian Daboll smile like that. He believes he's got one. He thinks he's got one. I'm not sold yet. I'm not sold. I know that, Daboll was a guy that, turned Josh Allen into a thing and all of that. He sure did run him, Jaxson Dart, like he was Josh Allen. And I think if you continue with that, you'll see Russell Wilson much sooner than you'd like, because he'll be back out there as the backup quarterback. However, one weekend, I'm not going to knock the kid. I do think there was a lot that needs to be improved upon. But again, you've only played 4 quarters of professional football, and you go out there and you get a win against Jim Harbaugh, I tip my cap.
Let's go, baby. Look, I don't know where you are overall on the hierarchy of what Dart can be this year, but can there be an element formulaically to what Bo Nix was last year with the Broncos? Let the defense do their thing, game manage and play make when appropriate, and get coached up by a guy we thought was not equipped to be a head coach. But I think if Dart doesn't try to extend himself, he does have that ability to be twitchy. He's got a little athleticism, to say the least, with running. But is there a world where you can get behind New York Giants football past just one trap game for the Chargers traveling cross country, Martin?
No. No, I'm not in.
Broke my heart, man.
Well, here's the thing. If you had told me all of this stuff before Malik Neighbors snapped his ACL, I could be in with you.
Fair.
Because, again, that's a true number one. That's a guy that if you don't put 2 on him every time, he's going to eat you alive. The Giants missing that weapon and not being able to tag him with Dart, then maybe you could have something going. I also think they lost a running back in the middle of that game against the Chargers. As your skill position players drop, your rookie quarterback is going to hurt that much more. You know what they could do, though? Maybe they trade for A.J. Brown, because the Philadelphia Eagles sure have no interest in using him. I don't understand what it is. I'm old enough to remember when A.J. Brown was a top 3, 4, 5 receiver in the league. You take your pick. We know the top 2 in Jefferson and Chase, but A.J. Brown was up there every week dominating folks. And for whatever reason, this Philadelphia offense has not prioritized or even secondarily prioritized getting A.J. Brown the ball. And Devonta Smith for the same matter. It's not just A.J. Brown. They're not throwing the ball. This team has multiple wins in general that has less than like one passing yard, that has negative passing yards in the second half. That's ridiculous.
Do you feel like if you're A.J. Brown, I mean, I saw Ocho Cinco tweet it out as well. It's fickle because when you're the wide receiver, you are one of the leaders of the team, but you're also looked at as, you know, we've seen it in movies too. It's like, oh, if you're not getting the rock, it's all about you. But they're 4-0. So, like, on what toe the line here, throwing it to you, do you go, I'm just going to not make it about me because we're winning and I'm a decoy at the worst? Unless we're talking like in the weeds on an incentivized contract where he's missing out on tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars by not catching rocks. There's a guy that got paid, but like I still am, I'm back and forth on it because he's not involved at all. But they're 4-0.
What he's missing out on, legitimately, is the opportunity to be considered as a Hall of Fame wide receiver, and I think that's what he hears and feels because he's got the Super Bowl, right? He's got the conference championship win, and he's got the 2 conference championships that he's been to, won. He's one of the more productive receivers over the last half decade. And think about Philadelphia's playoff success. He goes and if he gets another ring, right, then he's right there. Like, that's more winning than Jefferson. That's more winning than Jefferson. That's more winning than Chase. And his numbers are, while there will be, could be a little less than they, you know what I'm saying, than there will be at the end of this whole thing, they're not even giving him a shot. And what I'm not convinced of is I agree with A.J. Brown, and I know that they're 4-0, but here's the problem. You are 4-0 by spit and glue. And we know, just like the 4-0 teams, every year there's a team. The Indianapolis Colts right now, the big question is, at their 3-1 record, how real are they? Because we know every year there's going to be a team with a big winning record that really isn't built like that. A.J. Brown's trying to make sure the Philadelphia Eagles aren't like that. And I don't understand the dip. Like, here's the thing that most people aren't talking about, Alex.
Yeah.
A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts both referenced this after the Rams game. You got to let our guys be guys. You got to let us play. Let us play. Who's calling the plays in Philadelphia? A man named Kevin Patullo. You don't know him, and neither do I. No one knows anything about him. But that's who's calling the plays. And I think as a result, when you sit there and look at it and you see how after that second half in Los Angeles, the way that Jalen Hurts said something post-game about the offense and play calling and such, I think we may have a little more of a Brian Johnson issue from 2 years ago in Philly.
But let me do you one better. We haven't heard a peep about Saquon's production. You know, he's tied for 20th with 237 yards. He's tied for 20th. He's 6th in touchdowns and 20th in yards and 141st in yards per carry. Where is that in the Philly discussion? Except Saquon's such a team player. Shout out the Giants for all of those years. You won't ever hear that out of his camp. So I think we're talking about a Philly offense that's just not clicking across the board and has hit a couple of spurts here and there. Tampa kind of beat themselves. They had that nice comeback in Game 3, of course, against the Rams. But outside of a second half in Week 3, can we make a case that this Philly offense is just off across the board?
I think you can make a case that if Travis Kelce doesn't drop a ball at the goal line, if CeeDee Lamb doesn't drop a ball after the rain delay in Week 1, Thursday Night Football, I think you make a case that the Philadelphia Eagles already are at DEFCON 5. Now, they're not. They're not because they're 4-0. But I think go on a 2-game losing streak. I dare you. All right. I want to just touch on this real quick before we wrap up because I was never a fan of this. I did not think it was going to work at all at the professional level, and I doubted it at the college level, and it worked enough for him to win the Heisman. But you're telling me that you traded up, and the Jacksonville Jaguars are 3-1 right now. Imagine how good they'd be if they just drafted Mason Graham. That's stopping the run. Imagine how good they'd be if instead of the Raiders, who can't block a soul, drafted Genty, and that's a whole nother conversation. We'll talk about nepotism. Go look who the Raiders' offensive line coach is. But the Raiders, who can't block a soul, in front of Ashton Genty, when the Jaguars, who Travis Etienne's like first in the AFC in rushing, they could have drafted another running back. They could have drafted anybody who plays. Travis Hunter doesn't play. Why are we hearing about Brian Thomas Jr.'s drops instead of hearing about how good Travis Hunter? Like, think about the receivers in the first, and just off the top of my head, A.O. Maynor. Yep. You've heard more about him, right? McMillan. You've heard more about him. And Bryce Young threw for 120 yards in a 30-point blowout. Travis Hunter is not making an impact unless he's out there. And then to bench him on defense, they're doing this wrong.
They're doing this wrong. But 3-1, and no one except for you in the weeds here, Inspector Martin, which I respect, is really calling this out. Because, yeah, I think they had 13 drops, league leading coming into week 4. Impressive win on the road with Cohen and Salah going at it post-game. I digress on that. But, again, kind of a similar notion with A.J. Brown. I mean, doesn't have anything to hang his hat on, Travis, in the big leagues at the moment. But are we worried about production so much as if the team's getting wins, and I guess he's utilized? Decoy is probably an incorrect word here. But, again, do we still not blow this out of proportion because they're winning ball games in Jacksonville?
Listen, I just never thought that this was going to be something that works. And I think the faster that the Jacksonville Jaguars realize that we have a hell of a player and we need to put him at one spot, the sooner this team can really make some noise, because that division is wide open, Grand Canyon open.
But this Jaguars team has given up 18 points a game.
So put him at cornerback. You drafted him because he could do both. Make him play one of them and stick him there. You pick, but make a decision.
I think offense still has to be in the conversation, no? I mean, they're not a top 5 offense through a month. They're a top 5 defense without him even in the mix. Wouldn't we try to make them work on offense?
Well,
Christian Kirk, nowhere to be found.
Whatever they do it.
Went down the rabbit hole in the AFC South and can't even find the rock with CJ in Houston.
Whatever you're going to do with him, you should do it and get him out there and then maybe work him in on the other side of the ball down the line. But have him master one and then master the other. That's what I just never understood, this concept of we're going to be able to do both at the same time. It sounds like you're trying to hurry up and wait. It can't happen. It won't happen. And it's going to be a failure unless they figure it out. And this 3-1 record, I think the last thing I'll say about the Jaguars is I thought we had a visual representation of the Spider-Man meme, watching Trevor Lawrence, Brock Purdy, and then thinking about Mac Jones on the sideline. That is the same person 3 times.
No, I'm with you on that. Are you in on the Jacksonville Jaguars right now? Are you out or are you undecided?
I am more in on the Colts than I am on the Jaguars because I can't get over Liam Cohen. He's going to punch somebody by the end of the year. So to wrap it up, let's go ahead and predict what will happen by the next time we do this show. I was dead wrong on mine. I said Cam Ward and Tennessee Titans would get another win. Instead, they didn't score another point. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going back to the well. Another quarterback who's never won a game in the NFL, but not Cam Ward. Spencer Rattler. Jaxson Dart, welcome to 1-1. The New Orleans Saints beat the New York Giants.
I'm going to bob and I'm going to weave off of one New York team onto Ian's team. I'm going to take my good vibe San Diego Juju and I'm going to place it on the winless New York Jets, who get their first win at home against the Dallas Cowboys off an English Premier League tie on Sunday Night Football. Give me the Jets at MetLife, or Aaron Glenn is in the same spot as I am, not in the National Football League.